As the battle on the planet unfolded, Jacen and Lumiere, who had accompanied him, were attacked by Luke, Mara, Han, and Leia. In the ensuing fight, Mara engaged the Corellians while Lumiere again teamed with Alima to take on the other three. The duels ended with Leia forcing Alima to flee and Lumiere offering Luke a chance at peace before departing. With the duel concluded, Lumiere and Alima went to retrieve the Sith ship from Ben, who had recovered it on Zeist, while the others escaped amid a collision of freighters. After the events at Galactic 8, the war continued to escalate, with additional worlds breaking away from the Alliance, including Berries and Laslagan. While such losses were small in the grand scheme, they represented a continued deterioration of the conflict and another step toward full-scale galactic civil war. Actions intensified in Botan space, as Alliance fleet units clashed with a Botan flotilla during the Battle of Botoyue. At the same time, numerous worlds across the galaxy began settling old scores with rival worlds, forcing the Alliance government to stretch its fleets even thinner to preserve order. Cal Omar, increasingly a lone voice for peace within the government, struggled to hold the majority of the Alliance together. In an effort to lull Coruscant into a false sense of security and buy time for a massive Confederation strike on the galactic capital, Darth approached Cal Omar to open secret peace talks. Omar, eager for any chance to end the war and preserve the Alliance, traveled to the neutral world of Vulpta for direct discussions. Because of interference by high-ranking Alliance leaders orchestrated by the Galactic Alliance Guard, Jacen was able to deploy several GAG units to the meeting site. During the talks, Omar was tempted by the prospect that the Confederation might call for a ceasefire and return to Alliance domains. Jedjan's sole demand was the removal of Jacen and Char Niathal, either politically or permanently. The meeting was wired with microphones, which gave Jacen the leverage he needed to arrest Cal Omar and remove him from office. Furthermore, Jedjan was killed by Ben on Jacen's orders, an action that deeply affected the Confederation. After successfully manipulating galactic law to grant himself powers not seen since the end of the Old Republic, Jacen Solo moved to seize control of the Alliance. Using footage that appeared to show Omar accepting the enemy's demands for the Sake of Peace, Jacen and Admiral Char Niathal carried out a quiet, bloodless coup. By placing Omar under house arrest, the pair became a duumvirate, ruling the Alliance as co-chiefs of state. While Admiral Niathal genuinely believed the military takeover was only for the duration of the war, Jacen began laying plans for his eventual rule over the entire galaxy as a Sith Lord. Now co-head of state of the Galactic Alliance, Jacen Solo was ready to ascend as a Dark Lord of the Sith. But first he had to make his sacrifice to prove his commitment. Ben, anguished by Jedjan's assassination, confessed to his mother Mara about Jacen and Lumiere. After failing to kill Lumiere on Hesperidium, Mara pursued her to Cavern, where she encountered Jacen and the two engaged in a fierce duel. Mara was able to knock Jacen down and was about to kill him when Jacen used a force illusion of Ben to distract her, then stabbed her with a poison dart, killing her. Having completed his sacrifice, Jacen was now ready to become a true Sith. Lumiere realized this and went to carry out her part of the plan and buy Jacen more time. She went to Luke and claimed she had killed Mara. Luke pursued her to Trefan, overcame her, dueled her, and decapitated her. With Lumiere's death, Jacen was prepared to take the name Darth Caedus, Dark Lord of the Sith. With the peace talks having failed, the war widened and swept across the galaxy. The Confederation launched an advance toward the galactic core. Reinforced by a Kamenarian and Hutt battle fleet, the Confederation laid siege to Balmorra. Jacen Solo, now Darth Caedus, commanded the Galactic Alliance 4th Fleet in a counter-strike. Although Balmorra was lost, the Confederation suffered heavy casualties and was prevented from reinforcing its own fleet at the Battle of Kiate. The Battle of Kiate lasted nearly a week. Darth Caedus led the assault on the Confederation fleet from the Star Destroyer Anakin Solo. Caedus relied on the Jedi to finish the battle quickly, and he had already dispatched a large GAG force to hold the Jedi Academy on Oss as hostage. Luke, still grieving his wife's death, commanded the Jedi force, but after learning that Jacen had used Ben to assassinate Cal Omar, he halted his effort and jumped to Kashyyyk, where his fugitive sister and her husband were trying to persuade the Council to aid the Jedi. They ultimately convinced the Wookiees to join their cause, depriving both the Alliance and the Confederation of a sizable fleet. Unable to finish the Battle of Caedus swiftly, Caedus decided to strike Kashyyyk and make an example of the world to other rebellious star systems. Now known as Darth Caedus, Jacen was determined to bring Ben Skywalker to the dark side. During a brief conversation with Ben in the Battle of Caedus, Caedus revealed a falsified audio compilation, assembled from words taken from recorded meetings with Cal Omar that purportedly ordered the assassination of Ben's mother. Though not completely convinced that the former chief of state was responsible for Mara's death, Ben snuck into Omar's home on Coruscant prepared to kill him. However, Omar was already ready for that possibility. In a tactic similar to that of his predecessor Borsk Failire, Omar had rigged a proton bomb to trigger if his heart stopped beating. Upon learning the truth about Omar, Ben attempted to persuade the ex-chief of state to fake his death. Omar refused and impaled himself on Ben's lightsaber. Ben escaped before the bomb detonated, but, having discovered the identity of his mother's killer, he was now determined to kill Caedus. To keep the Jedi Order aligned with the Alliance, Jacen stationed a battalion on Ossus while many Masters were away attending Mara's funeral on Coruscant. That battalion was commanded by Major Cel Serpa, an officer on the verge of madness and willing to assassinate occupants of the Academy to maintain order. Only Masters Cam Solusar and Shan Solusar remained to protect the children, along with a handful of Jedi Knights. Meanwhile, Jaina Solo, Jagged Fel, and Zek had tracked Alima Ra to Ossus, believing she was responsible for Mara's death. Although Alima escaped, the three stayed behind to help protect the children. After the Jedi withdrew from the Battle of Caedus, Serpa made his move on the Academy. Serpa used coma gas to quickly incapacitate the two remaining Jedi Masters and took the children hostage. Ben warned Jaina, and she alerted the other Masters. Despite that, Gag troops had already killed many of the Jedi at the Academy, and Shan was wounded by Serpa and taken captive. Serpa then used Shan as bait, shooting her in the arm and leg in front of the children and the remaining Jedi. Cam Solusar could take no more. Along with two other Jedi Knights, he was cut down by snipers. The two Knights were killed and Cam was injured. Jaina and Fel managed to eliminate the snipers, and Jaina confronted Serpa, who then tried to shoot her. Zek arrived, twice disarmed Serpa, and took him captive. The Jedi were then forced to abandon Ossus for fear of reprisals. After Lumiya's death, Alima took the Sith ship to seek a Sith artifact to aid the new Sith Lord. She infiltrated the Jedi Temple on Ossus and downloaded some data before traveling to Vectivus's asteroid, which led her to the Sith on Korriban. Upon meeting the Sith leader who called herself White Eyes, Alima learned the meaning behind Vergera's and Lumiya's plans. White Eyes gave her a Sith holocron that had been intended to be brought to Jacen during the Battle of Kashyyyk. It turned out the holocron contained worthless data that showed Jacen just how little the Sith of Korriban thought of him. Determined to punish Kashyyyk and reclaim its fleet for the Galactic Alliance, Caedus led the Alliance's 5th Fleet to the planet and set about burning its forests with the long-range turbo-lasers of the Anakin Solo. A squadron of interceptors began attacking the Anakin, at which point Ben rushed to the bridge and tried to kill Caedus. A torpedo struck the bridge, killing much of the bridge crew and causing Ben to lose sight of Jacen with his lightsaber, accidentally bisecting Commander Twizzle in the process. Caedus dragged Ben to a torture chamber deep within the ship and locked him in a pain embrace, a Yuuzhan Vong torture device. Meanwhile, a large Confederation and Botan fleet entered the system and engaged the Alliance forces. Luke boarded the Anakin Solo and confronted Caedus in a lightsaber duel. At the same time, the Royal Hapan fleet arrived, led by Caedus's lover, Tenel Ka. Rather than aiding the Alliance, the Hapans joined the Jedi, the Wookiees, and the Confederation in attacking the 5th Fleet. Aboard the Anakin Solo, Luke bested Caedus in their duel, and Ben was determined to finish him off. Caedus escaped but was gravely wounded. The 5th Fleet only managed to break out by creating a hole in the Botan lines, an opening orchestrated by Alima Ra, who had been manipulating the Botans using a Sith meditation sphere. Because of the threat posed by Jacen Solo, the new Jedi Order, the Haps Consortium, and the Confederation concluded a pact of neutrality.